So my youngest uncle, right, and we've been beefing for a long time. Like he did like 25 years in prison. But even before that, he and I we was he was the one uncle that, what I mean, I just never really rocked with. He was always going, I was always going, whatever. And so after he got out of prison, um initially, we was trying to reconnect, on some abundant type time and things of that nature, but it didn't go well. And so fast forward, he and I at this point have had issues for years. It was to the point to where it was almost like the city wasn't big enough. It was like if he's on one side of the city, I need to be on the other side of the city. Like it was really um a powder keg, and anything would just light the fire. We just we couldn't get along, right? And so this went on for years, and it wasn't so much the beef didn't stem from something he did to me, but it was something that he did to my mom and can continue to do. He would use my mom and things of that nature and try to manipulate my mother, and so it really like was born out of that. And then he crossed the line one too many times, and I never really been big on forgiveness. That's something that I try to work on, but I've never been a forgiving person. I'm just not even gonna hold you. But as time progressed, and it got to a point to where, in order to keep down what was gonna happen between he and I would kind of separate myself from family. I just kind of like just stayed gone or whatever, because it was just, if I pop up and he's there, it can go left. It was really that serious, and so I knew it was a situation that was breaking my mom's heart, because here I am, her son. This is her baby brother, and he and we just cannot rock with one another. So just to keep down tensions and everything, keep down the drama, I just kind of like separated once again from like the family or whatever. So that's kind of like the build up. That's kind of like the backstory or whatever. Fast forward, 2 years ago, Christmas. That was my first time seeing him in a while. I haven't seen him in a while, and when I go into my mother's house, he's sitting in the living room, and he's lost a lot of weight. And anybody who knows, once somebody is hooked on this, that, and the third, like their physical appearance is obvious, and I could just look at him and tell that, yeah, he's on that ride now. And it was at that time that I kind of, the aggression that I had kind of left me at that point. You know what I mean? Because now I'm seeing, you dealing with some other demons, and the aggression, and so we was able to actually coexist in the same area, without any tension, without any nonsense or whatever. So that was kind of like the beginning of this process for me. So time went on, and I saw him again. I saw him one other time. Just in past, he was walking the block, and it didn't sit right with me. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, yeah, man. I mean, but I didn't address it. I didn't say anything or whatever. So a month ago, I'm sitting at my parents' house or whatever. We sitting there just catching up, and I hear the back door open, and he walks in. And when he walked in, he was crying. He had a mask on, and he was crying. And that's something that you don't see a lot in my family. Just, and when I saw him, he was looking bad. And he was talking about, he was asking my mom, he was just like, I just need you to take me to the hospital. He was just like, I've been sick for like 3 weeks. I just feel like my head about to explode. And, he was really just in a bad spot. And when I saw him, it was just something hit me. And I stood up and I told him, I said, I'll take you to the emergency room. I'll take you, bro. I told him, I said, man, you know what? I got you. And on the way to the emergency room was the very first time he and I actually had a real conversation. And it was something that hit me because everything in me in that moment was telling me to tell him, you know what, we good, we good. You know what I mean? And I told him I had love for him. Something that had never even dawned on me. I mean, but in that moment, it was just like, I felt like everything that I needed to say to him in that moment, I needed to say it. I needed for him to hear the words coming out of my mouth. And we just talked. And I mean, he's over there, he's struggling. And he's telling me, he was just like, man, I love you, nephew. And, man, I ain't never wanted it. And I said, man, you know what? It's dead. All of it dead. You know what I mean? And we got to the emergency room and we're sitting and he and I, we're just conversing. And because I recognize that he was in a place to where I needed to say these words to him so it wouldn't be on me if something happened to him. And once I did that, it was literally just like a load off of me. A load I didn't even know I was carrying, but I learned something in that moment, the same that I learned when my grandmother passed. When my grandmother passed, I had a conversation with her a few days prior. She wasn't sick or anything. And I didn't know that was going to be my last conversation with her. But I was able to put my arms around her. I was able to tell her that I loved her. I was able to have that moment with her. And so when she passed, I was at peace about it. But there are other people in my family who to this day are just walking around with regret and just, now every time you turn around, they're putting a picture of my grandmother on social media and things of that nature. And I'm like, grandma ain't have social media. But when she was here, you had the opportunity to kind of like do the right thing. But for this reason or that reason, they didn't have the time. So now that she's gone, they're trying to make up for it by telling her on social media how much they miss her and putting pictures. And I'm saying, like, yo, all of that is worthless. There's no value in any of that because she's gone. And so now they're carrying just a ton of regret day to day. And you see it on them when I do see them. And that was something that I learned when my grandmother passed, is don't have that regret. And so when I had the opportunity to squash all the beef and the anger and the vitriol that I had with my uncle, I took that opportunity. And I decided to put life into this relationship with he and I, as opposed to death and destruction. And I did that because he's in a place, like I stated before, every man has a limit. And he's at that wall right now. And, Father forbid I get a call saying, he's no longer with us. But that's where he is at this moment. And I didn't want that to be on my conscience and on my chest, that I had the opportunity, once again, to say what I needed to say. And I didn't just say it to say it. It was genuine. I didn't even know I felt like that. But in that moment when I saw this man was broken and he had no more dog in him, he had no more fight in him, he needed something. And I was able to provide it in that moment. And nothing else mattered. The past was the past at that point. And it really showed me how much I've grown as a person. Because 5 years ago, nah, it wouldn't have went down like that. But we grow. And I'm thankful that I had that opportunity in that moment. And it's funny because I saw him like 2 weeks later, and he was at his homeboy house, and I was driving past, and he flagged me down. And he was just like, man, I just really wanted to thank you, nephew. He was just like, I want to thank you, man. We got out, man. We hugged, and it was again a legit moment. And I told Unc, I say, bro, I don't have much, but you ain't got to go through anything out here by yourself. I'm just sitting here like, man, if you need me, I'm here for you. And now that vitriol and that hatred that I had for him, now I'm using that energy to help rebuild him as a man and rebuild what he and I have never had. And it was cool. And I'm like, this feel a lot better than fighting. It feel a lot better than, what I mean, trying to just destroy one another. And it hit me. And I thought about it and I slept on it, man. I called my moms and I told her, and my moms was just so, you could tell she was just so thankful and grateful because she knew where it was going. She knew where he and I was headed. And either way, it was gonna break her heart. And so I said, I put this out here, man, to just like, I know, like, I'm not big on forgiveness. I never have been. I probably never will be. I'm just like, look, if I rock with you, I don't give you a reason to cross me. But if you do, it is what it is. I'm the type of person, if you and I have an issue, until we address the issue, it's gonna always be an issue. You know what I mean? Whether we got to get physical, whether we sit down and can have a conversation like two adults, by any means, the issue will be the issue until we address the issue. And I was able to address the issue by simply throwing it away. Because in that moment, what he needed was bigger than what we were going through. You know what I mean? And so sometimes you gotta put it down. Sometimes you gotta put it down. When life chooses you in a moment to do a thing, do it. At no point in time had I ever foreseen he and I being in the same vehicle for any reason. But in that moment, the words just came because it needed to be said. It needed to happen in that moment. And all those years of anger and beef just went away. Because this man, he had no more fight in him in that moment. And one thing I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna kick you when you're down. I'm not gonna do that. That's weakness, But I was so appreciative of him stopping me and just letting me know how he felt about it. And we were able to hug it out. And now I just have a renewed interest in seeing him getting out of that hole that he in. Because he's in a dark place, but now he got somebody that he can call and be like, nephew, I just don't know what to do. Man, where you at? Let me come get you. That's life. That's progress. And it's nothing in the big scheme of things, man, with everything going on in the world, man. But that's a win. In that small situation, that's a win. And I can live with that. And that's what this thing is about, is just getting better. Just getting better. And don't be that person that has all the regret in the world when the person is gone, because it don't matter at that point. If you have the opportunity to kind of like rebuild some of those bridges, do it. It don't cost you much. It really don't. But don't pass up the opportunity to build and breathe life into a situation. because you just never know what can come from it. You never know what blessings you can receive from it. And so just take heed. You know what I mean? And I just thought I'd share this with you all, and till the next time.